What's this? Well, this is a Casio FX-603P, which is one that came after the 602, 601 family, and it's quite an interesting calculator. It's got, for instance, peek and poke commands, which means you can peek and poke part of the memory of the calculator and do various things, which is quite interesting. It's also got quite an extensive I/O connector here. Now, one of the things it's got is an RS-232, well, serial port, shall we call it. It's not RS-232, it's actually 0 and 5 volt logic level. And I'd quite like to attach to that in a sort of permanent fashion, build a thing, a cable or something that attaches to it. So trying to do that, you obviously have to find the connector, and it's a 1.27mm pitch connector. Couldn't find one to buy, so I tried making one here. This is made using a 3D printed shell and some wires, and the connector is put into the shell, and then I melt the shell with a hot air gun and sort of fix it in place. And that, I mean, it does work, but it's not brilliant, and the pins are sort of open there, and the whole thing's a little bit iffy. So what I've done, I actually had a look at a I think it's an FA80 that I've got, which has got the same connector, and I took it apart and had a look to see what connector was used to plug into the calculator on that adapter. And it turns out that it's not a connector at all, it's actually a circuit board. So well, it's a circuit board with some pins on it. So what I've done is have some boards made up, and these are really just breakout boards. So I'm hoping to solder some connector pins here, which will just plug in like that, and then I've got all the connections here and here. I think there's 30 connections in total. So they come out to 0.1 inch headers, which will be a lot easier to attach to with cables and things. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and make up an equivalent of this. So I'll be putting pins on the PCB and then creating a RS-232 port. I'll just attach this serial to USB. These cables will be soldered straight onto the board, I'm hoping, and it should be a bit nicer than this sort of haphazard connector arrangement I've got here. So we'll see how that goes. So I've built up a board there with the pins on it. It was a bit tricky getting the pins in there because they're single row. I did get a double row connector, but the pins aren't long enough on that, so unfortunately I can't use that. You push it into the connector all the way and it still doesn't make contact. So I use single row longer pins. Let's see if I can find them. Here they are. So they're what are they? I think they're 11mm, so they're much longer and they actually fit into the calculator. So I've got the calculator here with the USB to serial wires all soldered in, and I've put a couple of series resistors just for protection in there. So does it work? Well, if I do an RS save, it dumps the memories out. So yes, it does work. So I'm quite pleased with that. There's quite a few memories in a 603. There we go. And if I turn it off and pull it out, it's quite delicate. I'd probably have a look at a 3D printed case for this, I think. But see, the pins are here and the breakout connectors are here. It's the same pin out as the connector on the calculator up here. And there's position for series components there. I've got a 0 ohm link in the ground and two 4K7 resistors. So it does indeed work. So I'm quite pleased with that. I should be able to attach some other things as well. So we'll see what else I can get attached to this as time goes by.